Oh, no.
Time's now 6:30.
So, one moment, Mayor.
Oh, sorry.
Paul, can you please press 1? It's prompting me to press 1. Can you press *1?
The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Thank you. The time's now 6:30. I'd like to call the February 21st, 2023 City Council meeting to order. GoToWebinar transcripts of council meetings are available upon request after the council meeting. For real-time transcription, visit your Apple Store or Google Play Store and download services such as Live Transcribe or Live Caption. Given the global COVID-19 pandemic, this meeting is being conducted both telephonically and in person. Members of the City Council and staff may be participating either in person or telephonically. The public is encouraged to join the meeting online or by phone at the number printed on the agenda, which can be found on the city's website at www.diamondbarca.gov or in person, Main Auditorium, South Coast Air Quality Management District, AQMD. We have also allowed public comments to be submitted in advance to the city clerk. If any were received, they will be noted for the record when we get to the public comment period. This meeting is also being recorded, and by participating, you are giving your permission to be televised. This meeting will be rebroadcast every Saturday and Sunday at 9 a.m. and alternate Tuesdays at 8 p.m. and archived for viewing on the city's website at diamondbarca.gov. At this point, I'm going to ask you to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, and then please remain standing for the invocation by Associate Pastor Abe Castle of Landmark Church, and Councilmember Tai will lead us in the pledge.
Thank you. Would you join me in saluting the flag of the greatest country on earth? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please join me. Lord, bless this meeting. Watch over these leaders. Give them healthy communication. Lord, give us all unity and strength. And thank you for Diamond Bar. May Diamond Bar shine bright in this county and in this state and in this country. Lord, protect those who are serving here and overseas. And may what happens here give great further progress here. Be with the youth of Diamond Bar, be with the teachers, and we lift up those who are struggling. May just the correct balance of wisdom and zeal happen here to lift things up. We also think of Turkey and Syria at this time. Be with them, and it's in your name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor Castle. Please be seated. City Clerk Santana, can you please take the roll, please?
Yes, Mayor. Councilmember Lowe?
I'm here.
Councilmember Tang?
Here.
Councilmember Tai?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Liu?
Here.
Mayor Chow?
I'm here, thank you. Now we have approval of agenda. City Manager Fox, are there any changes to the agenda as presented?
There are no changes to the agenda this evening.
Thank you. So the agenda is hereby approved. Let's move on to item number 1, special presentation, certificates, proclamation. Today we don't have any, but we do have a special presentation on our Q2 strategic plan update. Mr. Fox?
I'm going to ask our Assistant City Manager, Ryan McLean, to provide the strategic plan update.
Thank you, Mayor Chow and members of the City Council. I'm pleased to be here this evening to provide an update for the second quarter of this fiscal year of the strategic plan accomplishments, in particular projects that relate to the City Council's adopted strategic plan. So first, a little looking back on what is our strategic plan. Essentially, it is the high-level aspirational document that sets a longer-term foundation for consistent policymaking and resource allocation. And it's designed to provide the flexibility that's necessary with each annual budget to ensure that the action items and programs and services are relevant to the adopted strategic plan as we move along. I probably should switch. There we go. Okay, sorry about that. Our first goal is the responsible stewardship of public resources. We have three different strategies that go along with that. That is securing long-term financial sustainability, maintaining and improving parks, facilities, and infrastructure, and leveraging technology to improve business processes. So let's look at a few of the highlights from the last quarter, and we'll start with the solar permit online portal. This is a project in which the city secured a $60,000 state grant to implement a new streamlined online solar permitting process. This is consistent with the mandate established in Assembly Bill 379, and we're currently in the process of implementing that project with an expected completion date in September of this year. The city was also a recipient of the GFOA Certificate of Excellence in Financial Reporting. The city was found to have met all requirements for that award, particularly for full public disclosure in communicating the city's financial story to the public. The city, on another financial note, received a clean audit from its independent auditors when they examined the books concurrent with the release of the annual comprehensive financial report, and that's always a good thing to see, that the city's books are meeting all requirements with no findings from our independent auditors. And then finally, the Public Works Department has started the deployment of new residential street name signs. You'll see those in a few neighborhoods as we speak, and the rest of the city as the year progresses. And those are really a nice facelift to the previous signs that were about 20 years old, and they feature the city's new windmill logo and look really nice if you haven't had a chance to see them yet. Moving on to the second goal, which is open, engaged, and responsive government. Three particular strategies for that goal include enhance community engagement and communication, provide excellent customer service, and create and sustain a high-performing organization. Some highlights under that goal include some new team members that have been brought on during the second quarter of the year. This is a result of the City Council approving several recommendations as part of the Human Capital Investment Program at the budget adoption in June. The city's Human Resources Division conducted recruitments and brought on 3 new members of our team, reinforcing our Neighborhood Improvement Division, Planning Division, and Finance Department. And these 3 positions were brought on to provide key frontline customer service focus, particularly when it comes to code enforcement, permit processing at the counter, and cashiering at our front counter as well. The city held its first windmill lighting at the historic windmill site. That was held in December. It was enjoyed by a large crowd, and it really is a nice bookend to our Winter Snowfest event, and really brought out some community for everyone to enjoy. Moving on, the Employer of Choice. This is an initiative by the Human Resources Division to focus on the recruitment and retention of employees for a long period of time, really retaining that institutional knowledge and building a culture where we can provide the best service possible. And so to do that, we've started to focus on improved communication across the organization, particularly through monthly all-hands meetings where we can provide key updates on city programs, services, initiatives that have been a success, and also identifying and recognizing customer service excellence when we see it. And it's a good opportunity to bring the team together and focus on building that proper culture. And then finally, we have a staff-driven customer service working group. We've shared this with the council in the past. This is an ongoing project. As we entered 2023, our team worked on identifying what our mission would be and really focusing our intent. And so we decided to take a deep dive into service itself with 3 main goals for the year. And that includes developing customer service benchmarks and service enhancements across the organization, developing an employee mission and value statement so we can define what our purpose is and how that relates to customer service to the public. And then working to establish a positive workplace culture that fosters that service excellence. And you might ask what those last two have to do with customer service in general. And I think we all agreed that providing the right environment and focusing our priorities is essential to then turning out that service. When we talk about customer service, we talk about obviously providing service to the public, but we have to provide good customer service internally in the city to make sure that we have the structure in place to provide that service. All right, moving on to our third goal, and that is safe, sustainable, and healthy community. 3 key strategies in this goal include enhancing public safety, improving mobility, and enhancing quality of life and supporting environmental health. So one of the most visible highlights under this goal is the progress that's been made on the Town Center specific plan. Through a compilation of all the public input that took place over the last year and the consultant and staff work, the team was able to present 4 alternates to a joint meeting of the City Council and Planning Commission recently. And that is just one more step in the process of completing the entire specific plan and then moving on to implementing the goals and objectives of that plan, ultimately with the intent of having a downtown for Diamond Bar. The Public Works Department completed the North Del Sol Lane Neighborhood Traffic Management Project. And as you know, the Neighborhood Traffic Management Program has an extended public input and engagement process in which the team of engineers and consultants works with neighborhoods to identify the unique needs to reduce traffic impacts. And so that project was ultimately decided upon installing new striping, speed cushions, and signage among some other enhancements. That project is now complete. And we continue to make progress on the Grand and Golden Springs intersection project. This is nearing completion. I believe it's expected to be complete this summer. And as you've seen, there's been the construction of the new golf course tunnel, various streetscape improvements, and roadway enhancements. And then finally, the city has entered into a new bus shelter advertising franchise, and that franchisee is going to take over not only the management of the advertisements, but the replacement of shelters and amenities as needed through the next franchise period. And so the work continues. I do expect to bring a first revision to the strategic plan. If you can believe it, it's been 3 years already, and we're approaching the time to look forward. And so at your next study session, we're bringing forth the revised strategic plan for the next 3 years for the council to review and provide input as we continue to develop that. And we'll be continuing to provide these updates throughout that strategic plan process. And so if there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer them, and thank you for the time.
Thank you so much. So we'll ask for questions. Councilmember Tai.
Thank you. Ryan, 2 things. The signs that are being replaced, are we doing anything? Ages ago, when we put the signs up that we have now, we auctioned them off.
It sounds as though there is some plans underway to make them available either for purchase or auction.
Terrific.
There'll be more details to come once they've been finalized, and we'll be happy to share those with the council and public.
Terrific. And then relative to the bus shelter, it's Focus Media, correct?
Correct.
And they're responsible for the bus shelters?
Yes.
We're not.
Maintenance, yes.
Maintenance. We're putting them in.
We're putting in the new shelters, and moving forward, if there's any replacement necessary or maintenance necessary, they'll be responsible.
It's on them. Great. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else with questions, comments? No. Wow, we're a quiet group. I do have one question. So on the solar permit new program that we have, that's very exciting. Can you talk a little bit about that and how that's going to look like?
Well, I believe it's still underway. The city received funding to create it, and so our IAS department and our community development department are working together to get that in place. I believe we have a consultant on board that's going to help us create the interface and the software backbone necessary to essentially allow someone who wants to get a solar permit to go online and fill the form out and then receive the permit electronically. And that's all to be in compliant with the state mandate that's been corrected.
It sounds like there's funding attached to this mandate.
To be honest with you, I don't know all the mechanics of the funding behind the scenes. I'd be happy to report back on that, but I don't know if there's additional funding beyond the $60,000 grant that's been provided to implement the project.
Great, thank you so much. Any other questions or comments?
Ryan or Mayor, this is Ken. I'll just chime in. There is $60,000 of grant money, and we do anticipate at this time that will be sufficient to cover the entire project.
That's great. Okay, seeing no comments or questions, so we're going to go and close the special presentation. Thank you so much, Ryan McLean. Thank you so much for the presentation. Now we'll move on to public comments. Public comments, the time reserved on each regular meeting agenda to provide an opportunity for members of the public to directly address the council on consent calendar items or other matters of interest not on the agenda that are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the council. Although the city council values your comments, pursuant to the Brown Act, members of the city council or staff may only briefly respond to public comments if necessary, but no extended discussion and no action on such matters may take place. There is a 5-minute maximum time limit when addressing the city council. At this time, I'll call up speakers who have submitted a speaker card first. Then our city clerk Santana will ask for those callers joining the teleconference online who may wish to speak under public comments. So I do have one speaker card from Ms. Cynthia Yu, if you can join us.
Okay, good evening, Mr. Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, City Council members, city staff, and members of the audience. My name is Cynthia Yu from Diamond Bar Library. February is National Library Lovers Month. The entire month is set aside to celebrate libraries, books, and book lovers. Proclaim your love for libraries by making a stand for block printing and decorating a canvas book bag at the library tomorrow, February 22nd at 11. This program is for adults. And on Wednesday, March 8th at 10 a.m., please join us for an hour full of hands-on fun. Explore everything in March, such as spring, St. Patrick's Day, Cesar Chavez Day, and more, through books and various art activities. This program is for ages 1 to 5 with their parent and caregiver. And also, all LA County libraries locations will be closed on Thursday, March 9th for staff development. We are always open online for ebooks and more at lacountylibrary.org. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Are there other members of the public in the audience that wish to make a public comment at this point? Seeing none, City Clerk Santana, were there any public comments, emails received?
Thank you, Mayor. There were no emails submitted for public comment. If any member of the public joining this meeting via teleconference would like to address the City Council, please select the raised hand icon in your GoToEvent program. And there are no hands raised, Mayor.
Thank you. Last call for public comments for anyone that's here in the audience. Okay, seeing none, we're going to go and close public comments. Thank you so much. So now we'll move on to item number 4, schedule of future events. Mr. Fox?
Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. Scheduled events for the next couple of weeks include Coffee with a Cop. Will be held on Tuesday, February 28th from 7:30 to 9:30 a.m. at Starbucks in the Super H Mart Center at 2837 South Diamond Bar Boulevard. The Planning Commission will also meet on Tuesday, February 28th, starting at 6:30 p.m. in the Windmill Community Room. And our next City Council meeting will be held on Tuesday, March 7th, starting at 6:30 p.m. here in the AQMD Auditorium.
Thank you, Mr. Fox. Let's move on to consent calendar. Mr. Fox?
On the consent calendar this evening, you have approval of the minutes from your February 7th meeting, ratification of the check register dated February 1st through February 14th, approval of the treasurer's statement for January 2023, approval of a consultant services agreement with NCE Inc. to prepare plans and specifications for several residential and arterial street rehabilitation projects, including a determination that the agreement is not subject to the California Environmental Quality Act, and exoneration of surety bonds for the completion of sewer and street light improvements related to the South Point Development Track 63623. And that concludes the consent calendar for this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Fox. Would anyone like to pull any items for discussion? If not, can we have a motion for approval?
Move approval of the consent calendar.
Second.
Second, I have a motion by Councilmember Tai, a second by Councilmember Lowe. Ms. Santana, can you take roll, please?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Councilmember Lowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Tang?
Yes.
Councilmember Tai?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Lu?
Yes.
Mayor Chow?
Yes, thank you. Motion carries 5-0. We'll now move on to public hearing. We have none. So let's go on to agenda number 7, council consideration. Mr. Fox.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm going to ask our Finance Director, Jason Jacobson, to make the staff presentation, and he is via teleconference this evening with us.
Thank you, Dan, and good evening, Mayor Chow and members of the City Council. It is my pleasure to present you this evening with the mid-year budget update. Next slide, please, Christina. Thank you. We begin with the general fund revenues, where we are recommending increases to sales tax, franchise fees, and charges for service. Sales tax revenue is increasing $250,000 across various categories, mainly due to business and industry category, fuel service stations, and online sales, which are passed through the county pool. Anticipated franchise fees for the year are expected to increase slightly by $133,000 compared to the adopted budget. And charges for service, which include building permits, plan check, and recreation classes, are expected to increase by a combined $153,265, of which $112,000 is for permit and plan check, and $40,000 is for recreation classes. All other revenues in the general fund are trending as expected. That brings the total request for the general fund revenues to $536,265, and the total revised general fund revenue budget to $32,712,077. Next slide, please. We are requesting additional expenditure increases across various departments, totaling $312,291. To begin, we have a request from the Information Services Department for $38,650. These increases are mainly due to software increases, Laserfish licenses, Civic Plus contract for website enhancements, and unanticipated server maintenance, and a little bit for staff training and education. The Public Information Department is requesting $2,450 for supplies for new commissioners and council members. The Community Development Department is requesting $36,241 for an increase to contracted building and safety services due to higher volume. This expense increase is offset by the revenues I previously mentioned. The Parks and Rec Department is requesting an increase in the amount of $62,000. This is for mostly due to a $30,000 utility increase at the Diamond Bar Center for electricity. This adjustment will bring it into alignment with where we ended the last fiscal year. This is mainly due to just unanticipated use at the center at the time we adopted the budget. Of that amount, an additional $6,000 is also requested for the Diamond Bar Center for gas utility expenses, mainly due to the January spike in costs for natural gas. And lastly, $26,000 is requested for contract recreation classes, which is again offset by the revenue increase I mentioned previously. Lastly, the Public Works Department is requesting $172,950 across various cost centers, mainly $45,000 for combined maintenance at the Civic Center, for elevator maintenance, repairs to water damage at City Hall, and a set-aside amount for as-needed repairs. $6,450 for new office equipment for the Planning Department. A total of $66,000 for parks and facilities, mainly due to replacing damaged fence at the Diamond Bar Canyon Park caused by a traffic collision, and the replacement of Musco sports lights at Peterson Park. $5,500 is requested for a roofing contract. $50,000 is requested for contracted services for sidewalk maintenance related to the 57 freeway construction project. And that concludes the expenses for the departments. Again, the total request is $312,291 for the general fund. Next slide, please. And that brings us to our other governmental funds and the CIP fund, which will be on the next slide. For other governmental funds, we start with the Tres Hermanos Reserve Fund. The city manager is requesting an additional adjustment of $40,000 for supplemental contributions related to weed abatement and fuel modification efforts. And our CDBG fund, the Community Development Department, is requesting various adjustments to the CDBG fund, which are needed to bring it into alignment with previously approved allocations and programming. These adjustments include $77,227 in adjustments to revenues to recognize prior year carryover funding, and $10,149 for home improvement program administration and senior programming admin and programming. And an additional increase to the funding from CDBG fund to the Area 3 ADA curb ramp CIP project in the amount of $11,916. So with CDBG fund, we have both revenues and expense increases there. Next slide, please. And the CIP fund also needs an adjustment now to recognize both the revenue and expenses coming in from the CDBG fund. This adjustment of $11,916 is coming in as a transfer in and will be added to the ADA curb ramp project for Area 3, bringing the total budget from $184,000 for the project to $195,916. Next slide, please. All right, and here is a little summary of all of the adjustments for resources and appropriations. In sum, and as further detailed in the exhibit attached to the agenda report, the recommended mid-year adjustments will have a positive impact on the general fund's budgetary fund balance, bringing the revised year-end budgetary surplus up $223,974 after these adjustments, which will end the year at a positive budgetary surplus of $56,015. Changes to the CDBG fund will leave the fund in a budgetary deficit of $272,000, which is commonplace as this fund relies on reimbursements once expenses have been incurred. So typically you have a rolling negative balance there. Changes to the Tres Hermanos Reserve Fund will result in a year-end fund balance of $5,700 after appropriating $40,000 from fund balance. And the recommended changes to the CIP fund will have no net impact on the fund balance. The fund will end the year with a budgetary fund balance of $37,000. And these funds and all other funds are included on the attachment, Exhibit A, listing essentially all of the adopted budget and any approved amendments following the adopted budget, and in addition to these recommended mid-year adjustments. And with that, we go on to the next slide. Besides approving the mid-year recommended adjustments, as mentioned, the action before the council tonight would also formally commit the second remaining installment of ARPA monies in the amount of $3.4 million, which were received right after the adopted budget in June of 2022. So pursuant to the U.S. Treasury's requirement that ARPA funds claimed as replacement for lost revenue be utilized for government services, it is recommended that the City Council formally commit to use the second and final installment towards contracted public safety services provided by the LA County Sheriff's Department. You may recall that we utilized the initial $3.4 million installment, the first installment we received in 2021 in June. We also utilized that for LA County Sheriff costs, and some went to restore part-time staffing. It is therefore recommended that the City Council adopt resolution number 2023-06, amending the fiscal year 22-23 municipal budget. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Jacobson. Before we go to council for comments, since this is a council consideration item, we need to ask for public comments first. Is anyone in the audience that'd like to make a public comment? City Clerk and Sarah, can you check the phone?
Yes, and we did not receive any public comments for this item either. And if any member of the public joining this teleconference would like to provide a public comment, please click on the raised hand icon in the GoToWebinar program. No hands raised, Mayor.
Thank you. So we'll go and close public comments. And at this point, we're entertaining comments and questions from my council colleagues. Councilmember Tai.
Thank you. Jason, I think this question will be for you. It might be a department head. On the Diamond Canyon Park repair after an accident, do we go after the insurance to cover the cost?
Councilmember Tai, that incident, I can let Dave Blue speak to it, but I believe that incident, there was no evidence, there was no cameras, and therefore it was a hit and run and nobody to recover costs from, unfortunately.
Okay, thank you.
But council member, Tai and Mayor, yes, we would normally seek reimbursement from the insurance companies when we have that information.
Great, thank you. Is that it, Mr. Councilmember Tai? Yeah. Okay. Anyone else? Councilmember Lowe?
Thank you, Mayor. My question is regarding the Tres Hermanos Fund, the request of $40,000. Do we expect that to be a normal line item expenditure from here on in? And if so, should we be budgeting for it, or where does it come from? Just maybe you can explain how that works.
Yeah, the additional contributions this year are due to some extraordinary work effort related to weed abatement that we performed last year, including some additional disking as well as applying some pre-emergent weeds. We'll see how that works this year. We did receive a state grant that will help us out with this next budget cycle, so I suspect that it will not be an ongoing at that level.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Tang?
Does the increase of the Diamond Bar Center's utility bill just reflect the higher bill, higher cost of the natural gas and electricity, or it also reflect the higher utilization of the facility?
I believe it's a little bit of both. Certainly the utility costs, the electricity and gas has gone up. Obviously, we have all seen our gas prices go up in the last month or two. But it is also a result of increased rentals, so there is some offsetting costs related to revenue related to that. As you may recall, before we adopted the last budget, we were still trying to recover from COVID and reopen the facilities. And so we're fortunate enough that people are responding well and willing to rent the facility.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem, do you have questions?
Thank you, Mayor. Just a clarification question. There's a line that says increase prior year carryover funding. Can you talk a little bit more what that means?
Jason?
Yes, Mayor Pro Tem, so that you're referring to the CDBG fund. Really what this is a sort of cleanup. Director Greg Gubman of the Community Development Department, he brings to you guys the allocation of these resources, which he programs. And so this is to sort of bring the city budget in alignment with the already approved resources. And so this is funding left over from the prior year that we're now recognizing it now that it's been programmed, and we're essentially recognizing it as revenue this fiscal year.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you. I do have one more question. So I saw that on the revenue side, we're adjusting an additional $250,000 in sales revenue. Do we know where that sales tax is coming from? Love to know.
Mayor Chow, I can't list the exact sources due to confidentiality purposes, but in large, I could say that it's a lot due to online sales. Which, in fact, for those, we don't get the details for. We just get a lump sum payment from the county, which is passed through by the state. And a large part of it is also due to fuel as well. So I can provide a breakdown as a follow-up item if needed, but I don't have the exact amounts per sector in front of me.
That's fine. Thank you so much. Do we have other questions or comments from my council colleagues? One more?
And Dan, I don't know if you would be or Jason would have the answer to this. Did our expenses for energy at, let's just use the Diamond Bar Center, not all of our facilities, did they triple like homeowners tripled? Do we know?
Councilmember Ty, to respond to that, the expenses are basically on track right now for other utilities. The increase there for the Diamond Bar Center is I believe let me go back to my notes here. $30,000 is for electric utility, and that really just brings it into alignment with where we ended last fiscal year. So there's not really a big jump there in electricity costs. Where we're seeing the spike in costs is in our gas utility expenses, and that is at mainly the Diamond Bar Center. The City Hall Civic Center is tracking as budgeted. Not really a big utilizer of gas apparently, but the needed adjustment is for the Diamond Bar Center for $6,000, and that's just for January.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Would anyone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we adopt resolution number 2023-06, amending the fiscal year 2022-23 municipal budget revenue estimates and appropriations.
Thank you, Councilmember Tai. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Lowe. Ms. Santana, can you take the roll, please?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Councilmember Lowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Tang?
Yes.
Councilmember Tai?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Lu?
Yes.
Mayor Chow?
Yes, thank you so much. Motion carries 5-0. Now we'll move on to 7.2, appointments to the Park and Rec Commission, Planning Commission, and Traffic and Transportation Commission. Mr. Fox?
Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. As you know, Councilmember Tang was elected to the City Council in December of 2022. Each of the council members makes appointments to our three standing commissions, the Planning Commission, Parks and Rec Commission, and Traffic and Transportation Commission. Following a recruitment select process of volunteers from the community that have expressed interest in serving on those commissions, Councilmember Tang has made appointments to those, and I will defer to the council member to announce those appointments.
Thank you, Mr. Fox. I am very honored to be given this responsibility to select commissioners. And this year, I received a large amount of applicants with very high qualifications. And unfortunately, there's only 3 openings. I wish everyone can be used by city to contribute their talents, their time, their energy to help to serve our community, to serve our city. But nevertheless, at the end, I select the 3 members to be the next commissioner. For the Park and Recreation Commissioner, I select Mr. Saman Mahood. And she is in our audience. Can you please stand up to let everybody see you? Thank you. She is she received a graduate degree of architectural studies from MIT in Boston. And I am affiliated with the MIT many years ago, so I know very well the qualification of the graduate from MIT. It's going to be very high. And now she is involved in design and build project of it's a so-called CAC, I believe, Center for Advanced Care for UC Irvine Medical Center, I believe, right? UC Irvine Medical Center complex. And with the budget, I believe it's a $1.2 billion budget. So she's involved in this project. And knowing UCI, I'm also affiliated with UC Irvine too. So knowing UCI, I know it's going to be a very good, very fantastic project when they finished. So she is my choice for Park and Recreation Committee. And our next one is Mr. Ruben Torres for Planning Commissioner. And Ruben, please stand up. Thank you. Ruben Torres has been a resident in Diamond Bar City for many, many years. And he has a lot of experience in banking, in finance. And I believe that he will be contribute to our city's town center project in the next few years. So I will welcome him to be the planning commissioner. And my next choice is the traffic and the transportation commissioner, which is Mr. Romulo Morales. He's right there. Can you please stand up? Thank you. He is a mechanical engineer working for Los Angeles City Department of Water and Power now, so doing all kinds of infrastructure work. And also at the meantime, he's pursuing a MBA degree at USC. So he works very hard, he studied very hard. And one time when I called him Saturday afternoon, he did not answer. Then he texted me back that he's in class. So I admire his study, the hard to pursue further study at this time, okay? And also he happens to be a past Marines. He has served in the 29 Palms for a couple of years. And again, that because of last year's visit to 29 Palms, I have a special heart for the 29 Palms base. And he is a Marine. And from his writing, he said that he wants to be challenged. Okay, I'm going to read it. He wants positions presenting tough challenges on an ongoing basis and to be pushed to the limit. So I want to give you the challenge. I want to push you to the limit, Mr. Morales. I hope you do the best. And these three are my nominations here. So I'm going to give this podium to Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember Tang. Given that it is a council consideration, we'd like to open it for public comments. At this point, if any member of the public here in the audience would like to make a public comment, now's the time. Seeing none, can we go to the phone?
Yes, Mayor. No emails were submitted for this item, and if any member of the public joining this teleconference would like to comment on item 7.2, please click the raised hand icon in your GoToWebinar program. No hands raised, Mayor.
Thank you. So at this point, we'll go and close public comment. We'd like to open it for council comments or discussion.
I have
Anyone
a
with
question.
Go ahead, Councilmember Dunn.
My question is, what is the effective date of this appointment? Or what would be the first day they'll serve, and when is the last day that the sitting commissioners will serve?
The effective date would be March 1st, and it would go through, currently, the terms expire in February 2024.
Thank you.
And is it true at that point, then everyone will be up for renewal at that point?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you. Do you have other questions or comments? If not, would someone like to make a motion?
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second, we have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Liu and a second by Councilmember Tang. Please take the vote.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Councilmember Lowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Tang?
Yes.
Councilmember Tai?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Liu?
Yes.
Mayor Chow?
Yes, thank you. Motion carries 5-0. Congratulations to our newly appointed commissioners. Looking forward to your dedication to the city that we all love. Thank you. Okay, now we'll move on to item number 8, Council Subcommittee Reports and Meeting Attendance Report. I'll start on my right. Councilmember Lowe, please.
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, congratulations again to our newly appointed commissioners, Ms. Mahmoud, Mr. Torres, and Mr. Morales. Thank you so much for stepping up. And I hear that you had to go through a rigorous selection process, so thanks for doing that. So, but really, it's like don't worry, it's not going to be challenging you to the limit. But, we do appreciate your service. We really do. And I hope that you'll enjoy working with the city and serving. And I can just see that, you're very excited. And so we appreciate that. A great thank you to our existing commissioners, our outgoing commissioner, Mr. Ken Mock, Ms. Kim Shea, and Mr. Aaron Salo. These wonderful commissioners have served very well, and they've been very dedicated. So we thank them for their years of service. I hope that we'll have a little parting gift or a ceremony to thank them for their service. Thank you. Staff and Mr. Jacobson and Mr. McLean, thank you so much for your work with your presentations today. Hard to believe we're coming to the end of February already. My goodness. Time flies when you're having fun. So there we go. Last Saturday, not last Saturday, but the Saturday before, council attended the opening day of girls softball over at Pantera Park. It was really wonderful to see the girls come out for this sport. Some were as young as 6 years old, so that was really great and heartwarming to talk to the coaches and to see how dedicated they were. I really appreciate them for their dedication. And you can just tell they give up a lot of their time to work with these young girls and mentor them. And so a big shout out and thank you to each of them for all of their teams. I have a photo here. I'm really happy to announce the opening of our new trails. It's there we go, Canyon Loop Trail. Let me have you show, can you show the completed trail first? Oh, there we go. So this is the main part of the trail. As you can see, it's nice and wide, it's nice and flat, new top and new plantings. So the trail was open as of February the 8th. And so this was a week before the nesting period for the birds that use that outdoor space. So we were just really cognizant of the environment around us. So when we put in the trail, just know that your city is environmentally very friendly. We opened the trail and completed the work before the nesting season for the California gnatcatcher and the cactus wren. And so a big thank you to the team that made this possible. Our Parks and Rec Director, Ryan Wright. And you'd be really surprised how many entities and people are involved in doing this trail. For example, we have landscape architects, we have project engineers, we have biologists, we have grant managers, we have Native American monitors, and we have monitors from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife and the California Fish and Wildlife. So it's a really big team effort to get this project done in a way that it is environmentally sensitive, as well as it's good for our people. And what this is, if you can show the next slide. This is the steps. So these are some of the improved amenities that you'll see at the trail. The steps will make the trail safer, and as the earlier picture showed, it's a wide trail, so it'll be safe. We're going to be installing, there's going to be 3 benches, there's some walls, water diverters. Let me have the other picture. The next one. There we go. So this is the V-ditch. This is the water diverter. And this helps the trail to remain intact when we're experiencing a flood season or a particular rainy day season. Of course, it's also for safety. And so this is the building of the V-ditch, and you can see all the raw materials that are just lined up ready to go into the trail. They will be installing 2 site maps as well as a flora and fauna interpretive panel, and that will come back in September after the nesting season is done. So I hope that everyone will get a chance to go out to the trail and experience it. It's getting to be some really great weather, not too hot, so it would be a very, very good time. So thank you to our staff and our Parks and Rec for that great project. Congratulations. And I think we finished under budget too, right? Yes. Sort of. Okay, good enough. Yes, we did. All right. So that's our new trail. So hopefully everyone will get out there to take a look. At our last meeting, I talked about the shooting in the city of Monterey Park in January, and I talked about helping the victims of that horrible crime. Can I have the next photo, please? Our city is a member of the Contract Cities Association, and as part of that association, the Contract Cities, as well as York City Council, we came together to collect a significant amount of donations to give to the victims of that crime. And also, we, at that time, honored Brandon Say. He's shown here in the photo, and he's the gentleman in the middle. And I'm sure most of you have heard by now, he's the young man that disarmed the shooter on the night of the gunfire, and thereby saving many, many lives by his heroic action. And Contract Cities awarded Mr. Say the first ever Heroes Award, and he's holding that award in his hand. So that was really touching, and we were able to learn a little bit about some of the needs of the victims of the shooting. You know, a lot of times we don't even think about it. The Chinatown Service Center, which is the service, which is the entity that's receiving the donations and dispersing the funds that are collected. Well, they told us that in one case, one of the victims was the breadwinner of that family, and it was the mom. And because she passed away because of the shooting, they were in significant deficit with regard to their income, and they could no longer afford to maintain the car that they had leased for her. So now they're down to one car. So these are just the little things that we don't think about when we hear the big picture in the news, but these are real, and people are really hurting. So to the extent that you are able to help, the Chinatown Service Center would be the entity that would receive any donations and any assistance that you can help. Anyways, with that, I thank the staff, and it's been a great meeting. Thank you so much. And with that, I'll say good night.
Thank you. We'll go to Councilmember Tang.
I also attended the same meeting with my colleagues, Councilmember Low and Councilmember Tai, to support the Montreal Park City and to support the victims and their families. And also, we have a chance to see that young, brave gentleman who saved a lot of lives from the gunmen. And even I'm residing in Diamond Bar for a long time, but Montreal Park City has a special place in my heart because when I graduated from medical school after training, I started to do the solo practice in Montreal Park. I started my practice, open my office, and hang the shingles there, starting with a very little office across the Garfield Medical Center. And I still have a lot of friends, colleagues, and even patients from Montreal Park City. And I stayed there for 15 years, and I see that my wife is in the back of the room, and we were dating. We frequently go to the restaurant there to eat. It has excellent food there, so it has a very special place in my heart. So I feel extremely heartfelt for the tragedies there, and will continue to represent our community, our resident, including myself, to continue to show solidarity, to support them. And we are all in the big family. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Tang. I'll go to Councilmember Tai. Thank you.
Thank you. You know, it was fun on Saturday, the 11th, to have opening day with the Denver girls softball. I remember some time ago trying to figure out when things would get back to normal. And I was pretty sure that things would be back to normal when kids were playing soccer, when kids were playing softball, and when kids were playing Little League. So it was great to be out there, great to choose the winning, what do we call those things? The banners, right? I lost, but we made it unanimous. So a good time was had by all. It was cute that the girls did a great job parading around the infield. On that same day in the afternoon, we saw, all of us were there to see Senator Bob Archuleta swearing in. The entire council was there, as well as City Manager Fox, and he is our state senator now. And I was a little bit worried that we weren't going to get out of there on time because they gave him the microphone. So we had to deal with that. But it was a terrific celebration of Senator Archuleta, his wife, a tremendous background, Army service, and so on, and all he's done, not only at the state level, but at the federal level for President Obama, being appointed to a couple of different things. And then last Saturday, we saw Senator Rubio swearing in at the University of Laverne, not our mayor, but not our senator. But if we don't work with them all, we're not going to get what them of our needs. It was great to see Abby Howell and Raphael Plunkett there, and to appreciate Senator Rubio, and the only sisters ever in California to serve at the same time in the Assembly and the State Senate. So quite, again, another success story for that family, and it was great to see their parents there as well. And then finally, as we've all talked about, or we'll talk about, Contract Cities in Monterey Park moved. It normally meets on Wednesdays. Anybody is welcome to go to those. And they moved it to celebrate on a Thursday so that Monterey Park Council people could be there, because their council meetings are held on Wednesday, and they participated there. I can't thank enough all of the council pitching in and donating on behalf of Diamond Bar. No dollars were used from the city. It was all personal, and I appreciate that we were able to do that, for, especially as Councilwoman Lowe said, to hear what they're faced with, to hear what in a moment their life changed, and not only they wake up with somebody gone from their life, but the realization that, how do I get by? How do I do these things that I didn't used to have to do, or that maybe I helped do, and now I have to be the sole breadwinner and the sole parent in the life. So, and Brandon Say was remarkable. He really was. I, honest to goodness, don't think that it has sunk into him yet exactly what he did, how he did it, and you ask him why he did it. I just don't think he can answer that question, but he did what he needed to do, and saved untold lives. So a true hero among us. So with that, I'll say good night and God bless you.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank staff for the presentation this evening. And I'd like to congratulations again for Ms. Mahmoud, Mr. Torres, and Mr. Morales for your appointment to the commissioners. And thank you for stepping up to serve our community. The Volunteer, its registration's opened up again. The Volunteer is a program by our city for teens aged from 13 to 17, helping them acquire work experiences while building leadership skills. The Volunteer kids get to serve in programs such as a summer day camp or the Constitution Park. My daughter had a chance to serve last year, and she could not wait to ask me to register her again. And she has to ask me 3 times because I didn't do it in the same day. So it is a tremendous program. We had a lot of residents ask when the program will open up again. So now it is open, and please go to our website to register. And we will be having a storm in the next couple of days, and that could be quite a lot of winds and cold. So please check up on each other. And with that, I'll say goodnight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I'd just like to first thank our staff for the reports today. Thank you for our Director Jacobson on the mid-year budget review, and also our strategic review from Mr. McLean. Thank you so much. I had the distinct honor of attending the State of the Union address in DC a couple weeks ago. So I apologize I wasn't here, but thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, for chairing that meeting. So Diamond Bar is well represented at the State of the Union. I got to meet a lot of Congress members and senators who spoke very highly of our city. So I think that's a real testament to all the work that we've done, since we became a city back in 1989. And also want to congratulate West Covina on their 100th year anniversary. Compared to them, we're a young man or woman or person, right? We're only 34 years old. They just celebrated the 100 years, and I was fortunate enough and had the honor of going there, presenting them with the plaque to celebrate the centennial celebration with them. And also want to congratulate Mount Calvary Lutheran on their 40th anniversary. I had the honor of attending that event as well and presenting a certificate on behalf of the city. There's just a lot of history in our city. There's a lot of organizations and churches and schools that has been around for a long time, and I think we're truly blessed to be in a community like this with such diversity that we have. And lastly, I want to thank Assistant City Manager McLean for the series of classes you're teaching at Diamond Bar Center on city government, what it means, what does the city council do, our strategic plan, our public safety programs, and all of that. I crashed your party last week. I apologize, but I heard that you were talking about city council, so I want to go stop by and say hello to the students, and it was very well received. And I can see that the class is very well attended, so thank you for doing that on was it Tuesday night, Wednesday night?
Most months on the third Wednesday.
Third Wednesday. So I would encourage our residents, for those who are interested, to sign up for, it's a whole series of classes and really learning about city government, how we work, what we do, and how we function on a daily basis. So with that, the time is now 7:30. We'll call the meeting to adjourn. Thank you.